Hi, I'm Evan Kelman, the director of Bandito, and you are watching The Hot Set. Bandito is a short film about a young boy named Jamie who sneaks out one night to join his older brother on a highway truck robbery. What got me into filmmaking? First I wanted to be an actor, actually, and I used to do these commercials when I was like 9 or 10. I did a Rosie O'Donnell commercial for Kmart and that kind of thing. And I just had this fascination with movies that I guess started when I saw Raiders of the Lost Ark when I was maybe 6 or 7. And over time, I guess I realized that I wasn't a very good actor. And I wanted to be doing something where I had a bit more control over, my career, I guess, instead of placing it in the hands of other people. In 8th grade, we had a class called film production, and I guess that's where I realized that I actually love making movies more than I would like to be in them. I've had experience in other departments. That's the nature of NYU. I definitely think NYU helped me get where I'm at today. There is that saying, it's not the classes you take, it's the hands you shake, and that's definitely true. One of the best parts of going to NYU was meeting so many other driven people that wanted to get to work immediately and, try to produce high-quality work. I mean, the film Bandito I made in a class at NYU, so without the class, I probably wouldn't have been able to make the film because, they gave us a lot of equipment. Most of the crew, like 99% of the crew was, other NYU people, so without NYU, the film wouldn't exist. So the idea actually, it used to be very, very different than what it is now, like very, very different. I actually had the first idea over a year ago. I saw a picture of like a tractor trailer, that kind of thing, and I was trying to think of different ideas. And I don't know, I was just thinking, like, what is the most interesting thing that could be in a tractor trailer? The most unexpected thing? The answer to me was obviously people. Like, if you open one of these things up, what are you going to be the most surprised to see? And people, I mean, that would be pretty shocking, I would think. Mm-hmm. So that's sort of the inception of the idea. It was a very hectic couple of weeks because we were producing the film from all these different angles at the same time. So while we were figuring out casting, we were also figuring out, locations and lodging and all of these things, and like you have to do. But because of our time frame and the scale of what we were trying to accomplish and the number of people that had to accomplish it, which wasn't very much, it was basically me, Sebastian, and Parker, and a couple of associate producers who had very specific roles, but were incredibly helpful. There was just a lot happening at once. One thing that happened, an important actor in the film actually dropped out a couple of days before, so we had a last-minute, casting call real quick, and I was able to find another great actor, an even better actor, actually, that fit the role a bit more precisely, but that definitely contributed to the craziness, in the days before. Part of the other thing we really had to focus on were these big-ticket items, for production. I had very specific ideas of what kind of locations I wanted to use, and I didn't really want to settle on those because I thought that what I wanted would really contribute to the tone that I was going for in the movie, so I really wanted them to be exact, and that took a lot of scouts out in Pennsylvania, which is, it was probably it's like 3 or 4 hours away, so my, very dedicated producers would come out with me pretty much, several weekends in a row and scout all these different locations, and through a little luck, we found some really amazing places. We have a semi-truck in the film, which I think is probably, something of a larger scope than I think most student films might have. A lot of people told us it would actually be completely impossible to get. We'd budgeted about $2,000 for it, and it turns out, it's like tens of thousands of dollars to rent one of these things. And so we were pretty terrified. One of the producers, Parker Hill, we decided to shoot in that area of Pennsylvania because she had a house there, which we stayed at, so she had all these connections with local businesses and that sort of thing. And through those businesses, we were able to find an independent driver, I guess, who basically owns his own tractor and trailer. The guy we ended up working with, very generous guy, he basically donated the tractor, which is the cabin, I guess, and we actually had to rent the trailer. But all in all, for the truck for I think 3 or 4 days, it was only $300. We set up an Airbnb for the cast near where the crew was staying, which was at Parker's house, and we get there, and the Airbnb was this terrible place that no one should ever stay. Apparently, that's what I was told. So the crew moved in with the cast in a house that was already basically filled to capacity, and we all became, one very personal family for a couple of days, unexpectedly, and that was just another interesting, challenge and dynamic while we were shooting. And it was unexpected. If people knew, we were already filled to capacity, but the cast was, it was young adults, a child and his parents, his mom, so. You had all these extra people that moved in. People were, it was like several air mattresses per room with people just, but everyone was a great trooper about it. They understood the circumstances. This can be the nature of indie films, student films. The road was really tough to get. It's a state road, kind of in the middle of nowhere. The agencies that are in charge of these roads, they have bigger things to deal with than, some students from New York City. They didn't really answer their phones or their emails, and it was really a challenge to work with them. And even once we got there, even when we thought we were good and we had the permit finally, which we got like maybe a day before we started shooting, or I think the physical permit actually arrived after, even though we had been approved. We get there and like the cops show up and like we show them our paperwork, whatever, and they were not impressed, and so they made us get all these street signs and whatnot, and we had to buy like road work signs like immediately, like within the day, and just place them in all these like specified locations. So like that was kind of a mess. It looked tight. We were setting up, the cops were there, and they were basically saying, you cannot be doing this right now. And I mean, you only have the equipment for a couple of days. Everyone's in Pennsylvania right now. There's no, okay, let's try again tomorrow or next week. We have to shoot this right now. And it looked like that might not happen for a little bit. We didn't make the film for class. The film was made in a class, but the purpose of the film was never to get an A in advanced production, It was always to make a great film, learn a lot, and of course make something that would get attention so that myself and the people that worked on it, could get bigger and better opportunities, which is what I hope will happen. Obviously that means applying to top tier festivals, and we hoped that our film was good enough to get into some of them. By the time we finished the film, Tribeca was sort of that first, top tier festival. We were either going to world premiere at a great festival, or we were going to world premiere at another festival. And luckily, we got into Tribeca, so that's where we're going to world premiere. What's next for me? Well, I actually have no idea. It's funny because like that question is like, that's like the end of a movie to me, like that question, because it's like, all the sound like zones out, and don't put this in the interview. What's next for me? So, when your film gets into Tribeca, that's a very nice thing. It means that you're going to be getting a lot of attention from potentially, a number of people that can further your career, managers, that sort of thing. So you really want to think about what strategy you're going to come to a festival like that with, and what do you want out of it. Does it mean you want to look for, support on your first feature film? Does it mean you want support, making branded content? What do you want out of it? And that's still a question that I'm working on formulating the best possible answer to. When I was in Sight and Sound Film, which is the fundamental filmmaking class, it's your first kind of experience, with a camera that can do more than just take pictures. I knew that was an important opportunity to begin trying to define my style, I guess, or figuring out what that was. And I also knew that was the beginning, of developing a commercial sort of reel, so I could start working right away. And a lot of those films that I made in that class were very commercial looking, and they were very diverse. One took place in like 17th century Venice, and one was like in the future with robots. They were all over the place. And the purpose of that was so I could cut together a reel out of all these movies, and it would look like, I had a lot of range and I had done a lot of things. And the films that other people were making in that class, they were a lot more school-like, I guess. You know, they were shot in their dorms, they were shot in that those kind of, you know, in the park like that. And I think that that's a very easily missed opportunity because, you know, when you think of it like an assignment, or you think of it, you know, for a class, you might not take advantage of it as much as you should.
See? It's in the middle of nowhere, just like the last one. So, what's the plan?
Tonight, we're gonna take it all. We're gonna clean that truck out.
Can I come this time?
You're staying here. You can't help us.
What are we supposed to do?
Don't get out till it's over.
Drive southward, we've got him.
What are you looking for backup?
Scotty! Roy! Where are you?
Jamie! You wanted to help?
Find me some.